Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And welcome back, everyone. I don't have to tell you, we're in very challenging times now. There's lots of things going on. Many times puts us on edge, maybe on guard. Now, if you're somebody that does some creative work, and I'm gonna say that we all do creative work. Sometimes when you say the word creative, people say, well, I'm not artistic and I don't know. Everything we do, I think, harnesses creativity, whether you're an IT expert, whether you're a painter, there's all creativity there. How do you maintain that forward momentum with your creativity when there's a lot going on? How do you refocus on that? She gives insight on that and so much more. Inspiration for writers, creatives, professionals. She's written books. They're fantastic. Professor Marilyn Horowitz back on the program with us. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thanks. I'm happy to be here. So we were discussing the weather's gorgeous and, life is short.
Life is. And you showed a side of you a few podcasts back where you run very deep, way deeper than I ever thought in terms of metaphysics, realizing what's going on in the subconscious of the average person. So much going on there. And Bad Girl Pie, your latest book, doing fantastic on Amazon. When you're going through some challenges in life or just external stuff, how do you get back on creative track? What does it for you?
Well, that's one of the reasons that I sort of put together the Word of the Day practice, and why I wrote a book about that. It's called Word of the Day: Transform Your Writing. And my own experience, and many people's, as you know, is really that writing is sort of beyond writing. Writing is a tool to understand how you think about things, right? A famous philosopher named Aristotle once said that by naming things, we understand them. And so the best way to connect with it is to write about it. And it doesn't mean you have to write well. There are all of these stigmas about that. It's the same thing when people do professional emails. They're trying to be professional. And really, if you're just sincere and you say what you mean, within reason, of course, then you're going to do much better. So the best way to communicate with yourself, meditation is great. Any kind of self-calming, grounding, breathing, all of that stuff is a foundational. People say, well, just take a few deep breaths. It's really true. It sounds like it's a cliche, but true. But then a lot of times we have so many things that we're going on. We're like three different computers, each going on a different channel. And, we have to find some way to find some peace. And when people say you have to get centered, that's always very annoying to me, because your life is not centered. Your life is kind of a pivot. It's not like some calm center. It's that your actual state of centeredness is a pivot where you are taking care of getting your kids home from school. You have to go to work and there's some issue with your relative or a birthday or something coming up. And the mistake is to try to be one thing. I think that's what I'm going to say. So the best way to deal with all this stuff is not try to get yourself into one box, because you're in several boxes. The concept behind the Word of the Day is that you draw basically a bubble chart. You have a circle in the middle, and that's like where I'm at right now. And then you have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 bubbles connected. And there you put, charity dinner, kid's birthday, car needs to be reserviced, mad at my friend, owe money. And then the idea is that because you're doing this in this particular circular way, which works on how brain chemistry goes, and you're doing it for a minute or so, and you can even do it mentally. I mean, I can see you doing it with me as long as I'm telling you about it, because it's how we're hardwired. It's a way of accessing kind of a graphic design that helps us organize. And you see, I saw you go, because it's contained, right? So now you have contained all of the different things. Right. And then as soon as things are contained, we're smart people. What we hate is uncertainty, and we don't like confusion. So this is an organizing principle that I've developed. And you see, you already did it. I want things to just work. I don't want to have to go into a room and meditate. Not that I don't love all that stuff, but a lot of times that's not when you need it. You need it now when you have to show up somewhere, you're late for something else, and so on and so forth. So if you just mentally kind of understand that by making a container which can hold all the pieces without trying to get them to work together, that's going to set you free, because you're at the center. So the mental act of doing this bubble chart and then just writing Steve, immediately your body will take a sigh of relief. Your shoulders will relax. You'll stop being like this. And then because you know you have a place to put everything, if you like, you can put everything, it's next to you. All you're doing is moving whatever is in your mind a little ways out of your mind. Not too far, because you've got this little line that connects the circle, so you're in control. But you have a pile of these things, and so you can mentally just sit there and go, okay, I'm a smart guy. What do I need to do first? And you don't have to worry about that. Your biological self is going to say, yeah, you better get to work. Or you're like, oh yeah, that. Right. And so, as soon as you accept the situation and you create a way for you to be in the space without trying to control it, it immediately does itself. That's what I'm suggesting.
This makes such sense because you feel like you've got a handle on things if you put everything within the circle. It seems like it's within your reach, if you will, whereby if you don't and you just try to process it in your brain, monkey chatter, everything, I call it like a ricochet, ping pong, bing, 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 all back and forth in your mind. I can't even get a grip on what I need to. Well, oh, yeah, I got to get the car fixed. I got to do this. I got to do that. This is all in front of you. And I believe if the items are there, you instinctively prioritize them. You don't even have to put a number next to them. I want to go just real quick before I forget. You said Aristotle said that if you give a name, you can identify it and work with it. That is almost, I like to say, a modern therapeutic technique. Modern being, could be now, 10 years ago, 20 of that. I don't know that came from Aristotle. It's pretty amazing.
Mark Twain said the Greeks stole all my good stories, right? So.
Wow. Well, then who said food is thy medicine? Socrates? Look at how far that goes back, and we talk about it now.
I mean, the point is most good ideas someone else had,
Yep.
and so the idea is if you imitate, then you imitate, but if you are inspired by. So, my mother was a philosophy professor when I was a kid, so I read all this stuff. And a lot of these ideas were helpful for a sort of mixed up kid because they were very specific. So okay, I'm upset. I don't know what I'm feeling. Okay, I read this thing in that book that said if I can find a name for it, I probably can control it, or I can relate to it, or I can stop feeling this bad. It's very simple. And so we're all like that, but we're not encouraged to connect with our creative selves. And the creative selves is the part of you that has images, and images lead your math part of your brain to make words. So that's why this is a reverse engineering by thinking of a word to describe the basic, so the easiest way to apply this technique verbally as we're doing is just to remember you can do it. And when you're feeling this way, you just go, oh yeah, Steve, and you visualize that circle and then you organize everything around it. But if you're using it next level up, you can ask for a word that describes how you feel. Right. So for whatever reason, I've been feeling very sad lately, and I have no reason to. Everything is going wonderfly well. So because I do the practice every day, and I get there this morning, and I'm like, how can you possibly feel sad? Everything is going, really, really good. I mean, I'm not going to jinx it. It's not going that great, but it's going well. And then I went, oh, it's different. And my word became different. And I am mourning something that wasn't better, but had been familiar for a long time, see? But I never could have gotten that clarity without knowing how to do this technique and using it. And just the way I did, in other words, it's writing, it's more that you are saying, wait a second. I'm not a cartoon cutout. I'm not a character in a TV show. I'm actually this complex person who has a lot of selves. Every time if you look back when you were 16, you don't recognize yourself, thank God, right? Or maybe you love it. You're like, oh, my best years when I was 16. People are like that. People had their best.
No. I'm gonna say,
right.
Yeah, little pieces were good, but by and large, in my world, no. I'm much better person now, even in the last 3 years, than even back then. I appreciate your transparency in what you just said. We feeling kind of sad. Is that because the situation changed? Is that what you referred to? Not that it was good or bad, but just it was different. It changed.
Yeah, it's better now. That's why you don't think you want to be sad. You're like, wait, I'm so ungrateful. Like how can I feel this way when things are so good? And you hear all the societal things in that statement I just, right? It's like should. And the trick is to get past the shoulds and say, okay, I acknowledge that based on all of my cultural training, I should feel happy right now, but I don't. And what I'm going to do, because I have a lot of stuff that I get done, I can't afford to allow myself to stay in this state for very long because these things are very attractive. You get a little sad, and then you watch a sad TV show and listen to a sad song, and suddenly you're sad, and then something sad happens, which is what you don't want.
Right down the rabbit hole.
So you have Exactly. So the trick is people say, oh, no, no, I'm going to meditate. I'm going to think about gratitude. It doesn't work. It's like putting a Band-Aid on an empty gas tank. It doesn't work. What works is, wait, I'm a smart person. If I'm feeling sad in a state of all this good fortune, there's a really good reason. And I need to try to be merciful to myself and see what's going on with me. And what came up for me is that what we fear most has changed. And then I remembered, oh, I always feel sad every single year of my life when we go from summer to fall. There's always that day in mid-August when you
Yep.
go outside, you go, wow, it's not summer anymore. Kills me every year.
Oh
I
my
don't even.
gosh. I start talking about it in like the beginning of August, like, oh, see, the angle of the sun is a little bit different and it doesn't feel the same anymore. That hot summer day. I love heat. I'm good with it. And it's now changing. Now it's chilly again. You know what's coming, change, but it's not easy to even though it happens every year at the same time, it's hard to adapt to it just because of the familiarity. And there's going to be change. We're not going to be hanging out outside for, 6, 7 months in the same way we
Right.
were.
Right. So the idea, but the way to win, and I'm big on winning, on whatever, looking at things, not so much as a battle, but more like a football game. I want making it to the end zone. I don't care what's happening. Is to say, okay, well, that's interesting. It's interesting. I don't feel the way I think I should. And when I think about it, I never feel the way I should at this time of year, but maybe that's more global. Maybe I just keep trying to turn myself into a commodity, so it's easier for me to deal with myself instead of just allowing that there's a lot of complexity. And this technique, the particular technique, whether you do it written or verbal, whether you put yourself in the middle or you use a word, it doesn't matter. Again, doing all this study, this diagram, as soon as you make it, calms you down. You get that, you go something like, oh, I've got a place for everything. Or I go in the middle, and this weird feeling I don't understand goes under here, but then this other thing that I've got to go do, and where's that package that was supposed to come yesterday? And that becomes the goal. The goal is not to understand things because you understand them fine. You just have them. The goal is to get yourself to a place where you are available to see what's there. Curiosity is not the first thing that happens when you're in survival.
Well, there's that phrase, get a grip, gotta get a grip, get a grip. Well, this helps
Yeah,
you get a grip on it because now you see it and it's got boundaries, I guess, because you drew the circle. So the things are
exactly.
within your reach and boundary.
You have circle within the circle, Steve. The idea is that you have yourself, that's the middle circle. And
Yep.
then even if you do one giant circle, yes, you have accomplished a boundary, which is very important. And then the littler circles, by not trying to organize them into an order first. That's what people try to do. They make shopping lists or to-do lists. No, the answer is give yourself a minute to just imagine everything that's swirling around in your head like some kind of a crazy abstract painting. Like grab the words, attach them to this mental circle or written if you have a chance. Then go, okay, I make no sense. I get it. I don't know why I feel this way. I don't know why I want to go punch that wall. I don't know why I'm not hungry. I don't know why, and the why is what will kill you in the state. The important thing is you have to get to a place of what. And that's what Aristotle and a lot of famous people since then have been trying to say, which is you need a name for it because that gets you to what's going on as opposed to how to. Is get a grip as a command. It wants you to do something. When you're in an emotional state, you can't do anything. That's why you're having a problem. Again, that's common sense. You have to get to a
Gotcha.
place where you are literally control of your emotions, and by naming them, even I'm saying, I don't know why I feel the way I do, that's a naming, that's a recognition that there's something going on that needs to be addressed without having to do something.
Do you feel, and I'm so on your page with all of this, especially the what, if we use why, isn't it a product of maybe the victim mentality? If you're asking why, get out of that. And would you say that many of us, even though we don't want to admit it, we're addicted to suffering?
Okay. This is, let's see, how much time do we have?
Not,
We don't
not maybe 9 minutes. We've just opened a door.
have 5 words on this. This is interesting. The answer is yes, you're 100% right, and no, you're 100% wrong. Because think about it. When you see somebody who's in an abusive relationship and you examine things with their friends, you find out that that's all they've had is abusive relationships. What if the why that we're told was just because they've had all these bad relationships was not the case at all? What if the issue was that they've never seen a good relationship? What if it's that if once we're shown something that's good, we're always going to pick, ice cream over liver, but not if we've never seen ice cream. And
Hmm.
I think a lot of my work and a lot of work that I hope that other people who are in this self-development or, happiness business would start to show people and give people a chance. With kids, when they're crying and they can't do something, right? You say, okay, come on, honey, here's a little book with a picture of someone doing it. Now, here's how you do it. First, you pull the laces of your shoes together, and then you cross this lace over this lace. It's the same thing with abusive relationships. It's, okay, honey, you've had 3 husbands who beat the crap out of you. You poor, poor dear. Have you ever seen a relationship where it's a good relationship where the guy opens the doors and takes care of you or whatever it is? They will say 100% no, except in the movies. And to me, the real work, and this is why literature and fiction is so important, is you say, remember that movie that you saw? You go, oh, yeah, I remember, whatever it was. And you go, well, yeah, it came from somewhere. It might be in a movie, but, there are people who treat each other that well. 9 times out of 10, that person who's been in this relationship, who's lying on your couch if they're a shrink or whatever, will go, oh, I never thought of that. I never thought it could really happen in real life. I just thought it was yeah. And
But isn't
suddenly,
she also potentially the same woman who may say, I don't know what it is. Marilyn, there's no nice man out there. I keep every single I don't understand it. The same ones show up and we can that's a whole other podcast one.
right. But what you say is it's just because you haven't met one.
But is it possible that those are the ones that she's attracting because she hasn't fully healed?
There's no question, but they are, to me, the job of a guide, whatever degree you have, is to see what the problem is. And this is what you hear over and over because I get so annoyed. No one is looking for the problem. Everybody is trying to solve something. So the Band-Aid on the gas tank. Okay, the gas tank, let's put a Band-Aid on it. The answer is no. No, that's wrong. That is absolutely, and it's cruel to other people. Instead of saying to this woman, there are no good men, you say, well, you haven't met anybody because you're not available,
Mm.
because your biology is trying to keep you safe. You wouldn't know a good guy that bit you on the butt because your inner self doesn't know that archetype even exists. So to me, the work of a good helper, guide, whatever you want, is to say, how about this? Find a way to show them something that's different, to let them see that the alternative is possible, and then not shame them for not knowing, because that's why therapy doesn't work. I mean, you didn't know this, look what's wrong with you. The
Mm.
answer, you've never seen it. They've done studies that, the Native American, they've gone into African tribes and shown them something like, that we take for granted, like eyeglasses. They have no idea what to do with them because they don't have a structure for understanding that there are problems with your eyes that can be fixed. So again, blaming the victim, but on such a profoundly cruel level, I can almost not bear it.
You don't know until you know, and if you don't know, you're just doing your life. You haven't seen, like you said, you haven't seen that relationship. Word of the day. I want to circle back for just a moment. We talked a lot about the Bad Girl Pie book. Word of the day. How would you describe that to somebody? Somebody just runs into you. Hey, you're writing books, Marilyn? Fantastic. What's that book you have? How would you tell them?
Well, word of the day it's a technique for writers to help you write a lot better. But my stuff always goes on another level, which is you have to have a better relationship with yourself before you can perform. So the word of the day gives you access to yourself by doing a very brief journaling technique that allows you to have this more compassionate relationship with yourself. And by naming things in a certain way, you are able to connect with your creative unconscious, who can inform your biological imperative that maybe there's a different methodology for addressing the situation. So it's a journaling technique that is beyond writing. It works great if you're a writer. That's what I do. For 25 years, I've helped people write a lot better. Because I understand that we're afraid to have conflict because it goes against our own inner imperative. That's the basic core. And this is a way of you working with yourself quickly. That empowers you. And by telling stories, which is our nature, you're able to tap into all of the collective wisdom that is available to us.
You have developed a system. Is this part of that system, this book, Word of the Day?
Yes, absolutely.
Wow. Okay. Um, I have to tell you, I love the way you describe things, and especially on your website, homepage. First thing you see aside from your name in the menu bar, cut through the crap.
On my tombstone.
It's real. Yes, let's get to it. Let's get all this stuff out of the way so that we can read our, meet our goals and feel like we're fulfilled and feel joy and all of that. There's a lot of CRAP out there that we like to get in our way. I do believe, but with the
Yeah.
circle technique, now you got a better bearing on that.
Remember, we're being blamed for the only thing that we were ever taught, which was taught to our parents by their parents and taught to their parents by their parents. And this cosmic cultural thing goes back, before language. I mean, it goes back. It's a survival technique to make sure we all stay in the cave and we don't get kicked out. I mean, that's what's going on.
Do you feel that much of the way we act is generational and it goes back to the one before and the one before and potentially I heard recently 14. We hold on to 14 different generations and there could be pieces of those that are challenging us even back to the third generation in your lineage. Do you think that's even possible?
I wouldn't want to codify it to just 14. I would have
Would
to
you say
say that
it
the idea,
could be at least 14?
oh, minimum. I mean, how old are the various churches? When has organized religion started? Whichever one it is. As soon as there's organized religion, that's a marker of when people are going to be made to feel bad, because that's the structure of advertising. There's a great movie, I forget the name of it. The kid asks his uncle what advertising is, and he says, "Oh, advertising is making people feel bad and then getting them to buy something they can't afford to fix it."
Ouch. I do marketing, so I get it. Um,
Marketing is not risk. Marketing is different. Advertising is a whole advertising is creating a reason for people to use things. Okay, marketing is getting people excited about that. You're not responsible at
no,
the same level.
no, and it's more about branding and making sure somebody is visible to take it to whatever level they want to. Final question, talking about lineage, do you believe in past lives? Did we live past lives? Are we reincarnated? Deep
The
question. I
whole
get it.
game is that yeah, no, I'm going to laugh because the answer is, if you look at that 16-year-old self, you've actually been reincarnated. If you want to think about it, if we're a new person and we had a different life, and I'm not trying to split a hair. What I'm trying to say is that very, very often these philosophical interests operate on a lot of levels.
And there's no argument there. If you look at your 16-year-old self and now you have reincarnated, you've showed up again in a different way. Same body. Actually, it's not the same body. It's an older body now. So,
We also change all of everything. Our bodies are completely reborn every 7 years. Every cell in our body is renewed.
well, funny
So
you
we're in
should
the
say
same
that.
shape.
I've heard that too, that we reevaluate ourselves every 5 years-ish. It all depends, right? And the 7-year itch term really comes from 2 years on top of the five because it takes us two to decide what we're going to do after and that's the 7-year itch. And as much as we can, laugh at it, I've traced it back every 7 years, coincidence or not. There's been pinnacle changes in my life. Weird. I'm not looking for it. I just, I heard that and then I counted back. I'm like, oh, 7-year itch. Oh, okay, interesting. Could be a
I
coincidence.
think it's a complex question. In other words, I know people who are mediums and
Me too.
who talk to people and so on and so forth. And when I see them at their work, I don't doubt them. I mean, I don't think about it. I don't think about it on a larger level, but clearly they're connected to something that is incredibly profound.
I
You have
one
experiences where
I completely agree with you. Some of my best friends are mediums, psychics, high level, if you will. That's their profession, world famous, etc. Still friends. I'm still kind of skeptical. Like I'll wait, to hear or maybe punch a hole in something. And when I can, it's like, all right, there's something going on. You have something, you're connected in some way. And I think it's wonderful. It offers sometimes closure, sometimes clarity on situations. I think we'll pause at this point. Boy, we went in lots of directions today. And
one
all
thing
good.
I'm going to say about that is that physics supports the idea that we operate on many different frequencies, and that
Yes.
might be a more valuable scientific experience, which is that they're tuned into another frequency. Again, naming it and putting time around it is a man-made construction.
Yes.
Right. So, I mean, it's a further conversation, but the idea is that, you're reincarnated every day you wake up. You left your body, had dreams, you woke up in the morning and you're like, okay. So conversation for another time. We covered a lot of topics, but that's because you and I are interested in this conversation. So it's interesting.
Yes. And I like to look at it from all different angles and like to think, ask some of the questions that others might be thinking. And the thought of the frequency we vibrate at, yes, scientifically proven. I believe now, after watching the work mediums and everything metaphysically connected, that when somebody passes, they're no longer here in body, their energy is, or very much could be. And maybe that's how the medium is connecting with it. They're picking not necessarily picking up on your energy that's connected to a loved one that passed, but that person's energy may be around us. I don't know. That's my theory, my recent one. And I've seen it in,
The most compelling theory is that this is all part of the same thing, and that we are an ocean, and that when you become a personality, you're a wave, and that when you're done being yourself, you return to the ocean. It doesn't mean you've changed form; you're just part of the ocean.
Your website is your name, MarilynHorowitz.com,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And lots of what we're talking about here is there. How we can reach you, great testimonials, details on the books. It's all there. Thank you for today. Yes, we went in lots of different directions, but all good, and lots of insight. And I appreciate that.
And congratulations on your whether you like it or not for being honored for 45 years in radio. I'm sure you deserve it in space.
Thank you. Yeah, it's doesn't even feel like it. Feels like maybe 20 if that. But yeah, this is my purpose. This is what I do. This is what you do. And looking forward next time we get together. Thank you.
Me too.
We'll be right
Me
back.
too.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.